Recently, a story had been done by eLocal about Monica Matamu, and I've just been reading a little bit about her in the article you gave me. What did her DNA tests prove in terms of her whakapapa to Patu Paiarihi?
Right. Monica, they had a tradition in the family. I don't know how it was derived, but that their people came from Iran. Now, I guess it's not really so strange because we have many groups within New Zealand who claim through their whakapapa that they came from India. Well, Iran and India are quite close together. You know, you've got Pakistan is sort of dividing them, but it was part of that region. And then also, when the DNA tests were done, it was proven that the biggest sort of incidents or group that would be kind of related to her people were in that region and also around Peru. So it sort of shows that they've come out through the Mediterranean, crossed over the Atlantic through the Caribbean, settled for a very long time in South America, and then I think they were all pushed out of there, with the coming of the Inca. They had to flee, and they came out into the Pacific and to Easter Island and fled from there down to New Zealand, which is consistent with a lot of the oral traditions.
How does the urukehu come into it? Because I'd imagine that they would have been quite dark-skinned in India and coming through Peru and the Pacific.
Well, civilizations change radically over periods of thousands of years, and if you go to the earliest mummies of Egypt, you'll find that they are Caucasoid people. And they did the DNA testing on Tutankhamun, and he was basically Northern European, sort of consistent with somebody out of Scandinavia. That's what his DNA showed up as. But what happened is all around the Mediterranean, you had, the Urukehu Kiripufero type people, the Caucasoid people, occupying both sides of the Mediterranean. The Berbers were another group, with a lot of blonde hair and that. The Gaunch, they were another group. Their mummies still exist. And invariably, over time, other groups come along and push them out. And this happens time and time again. People get shunted on. Yeah.
With Monica's DNA, can her results be interpreted in several ways? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't she have Jewish ancestry?
I don't know if she's got Jewish ancestry. I think she has some Tuwharetoa ancestry. But, you could look into the whakapapa, but, she knows her whakapapa, she knows the traditions that have been handed down through the family. She's fought for recognition of her people, Ngāti Hotu people, they fought for generations. They've been dispossessed of their lands and everything through Tuwharetoa, taking it from them.
How do Māori feel when you go into their areas and delving into their whakapapa and wāhi tapu, to form your research?
Well, I never really encroach upon Maori areas as such. I generally do my work in places like this, or out in dock type reserves, or way out in the remote areas of the Waitakaris, or whatever. Sometimes I'll go into a marae and I'll talk to the elders there and say, well, could I have a look at the Puniho stone? And they'll take, look at it, can I take a photo of it, and they'll allow you to do all these things. Most Maori I've found are very cooperative, and they love to talk about that old history, so I've never really had any conflict in that regard.